Happy Tuesday. Welcome. Thank you for joining. Hi, guys. Hello, welcome. Let me know how you've been, where you're from. Hi, welcome. Thank you for joining. Hi, guys. Hello. Hello, welcome. For those of you who connected yesterday we had Jerry on. He spoke a little bit about his mission and what he does. And today we're going to have on Sacha. Both these amazing speakers will speak at the Galactic Conference event, which is happening next Tuesday. So the 5th of May, 5/5, Portal of Initiation. So don't miss out. Tickets are on galacticconference.com. Hello, welcome. Let me know where you guys are connecting from. Hello from LA, Utah. Hi, Sacha. Okay, let me see. I must just let him in now. Hi, guys. Hello, welcome. Hi, Sav. Thank you for joining. Hi.
Good to see you.
And you too. How are you? Thank you for joining.
I just literally came off a platform with over 70 of the hereditary elders and leaders and kings of Africa, of your part of the world. We were just doing a 2-hour Congress meeting, so excuse me, I'm still in kind of uniform, but happy to join you.
No, it's okay. You look amazing. So, thank you for joining us. You want to maybe just give a little bit of an introduction about yourself, what you do, just like some background information on you.
Well, that's not really what I do. I mean, I'm not good at that because I just sound like a joker if I speak about my own story. I mean, I'm what to say, a war child from Africa, and now a professional ship stirrer, just moving against the Saturnian element of the status quo, working with hereditary leadership around the world, working on new paradigm economics. We've just launched the New Earth X, the New Earth Exchange, and the NXE, which is a whole new parallel economic and financial system of complete sovereign, autonomous financial jurisdiction, so people reclaiming their own ability to move freely financially. So that's launched and underway. It's very exciting. The International Tribunal for Natural Justice is one of the organizations I founded many years ago, and that is leading judicial commissions of inquiry into human trafficking, child sex abuse, financial crimes, weaponization of the biosphere, and now the doctrines of discovery, which is the Vatican crimes, and looking at how the last 500 years of his story has been a complete desecration of God's kingdom, and how we managed to allow this godless technology called government to infiltrate the reality matrix and take command and control of our divine will. That's the mechanics of ascension, and how that plays into now the end of time, the end of his story, where we're resurrecting ourselves from the sleep, so to speak. This is the work that you're doing, the galactic linguistics and stellar linguistics coming in through avatars like yourself, is helping to free up that satanic and Saturnian false light matrix. Likewise, I'm in the engine room, in the basement of the temporal earth plane, trying to rewire the system from inside the basement. So we kind of approach the same thing, you and I, but from different, you're coming in from the ethers, I'm coming in from the basement of the engine room, but same work, same divine task, what to say. But that stands true for all children of God, all of those of us who can still wake up each day and not injure others based on the unresolved shadows that we're carrying in ourselves. Those of us who can wake up each day and behold the new dawn and see the world through the eyes of a child. Those of us who can stand directly under central sun, casting no shadow in this world and just conducting right action and pure truth. Yep, it's what to say. It's good to be alive.
Yeah. Well, and that's all you can do. It's lead by example. You can't force your ideology on anyone. You can't shift someone who isn't ready to shift, or show something to someone that isn't ready to see. And I think, all of us in this line of work have had to come to a sort of level of kind of like ego integration, when you're like, okay, well, I can just lead by example. That's all I can do. There's kind of like a surrender and a peace that comes, in our work. And it's like, okay, well, if you resonate, you're welcome to follow. And if you don't, that's also okay. What is maybe one of, the most important lessons that you've learned within this line of work in the past few years, or something that has been useful to you that you've apprehended?
I mean, that there's so much. Again, I look to self. I look to relationship with self to become the navigation set that steers the outcome. I'm no longer investing expectation in others. In simple terms, what I mean is this: I began my journey seeking the man. I was looking for the man. I was looking. I grew up without a father, and I guess I was looking for daddy. I was looking for the man and looking for the hero. And my journey was always taking the knee and being very deferential to others and elevating others and seeking with open heart and open mind. And like most of us, I got fucked so many times along the way and disabused and let down. And my expectations were so profoundly failed on so many levels, and turned over badly in business and in life and in relationships. And became a professional victim for a time in my journey, like thinking, why me, oh Lord? What have I done to deserve this? And all I want is the best outcome. And then slowly but surely stepping into full sovereignty and full autonomy and realizing that I am the man I'm seeking. He was always here. He was never out there. And do I have the courage and the grace to be able to begin to work on this temple, this alchemy here, and not seek validation externally, because it's not to be had. And that, for me, I think is the big grace point, is recognizing that we're built with the technology within the body temple in the here and now. Each of us are our own redemption, our own salvation, and our own immanence, issues from the relationship we convene with self, and not in a luciferic false light sense of ego self, of my will be done. And no, I'm obviously talking about the higher aspect of self, which is the superior self with a capital S, which is the one that seeks service above your own appetites or addictions in this world. When we're able to transmute and transcend our own appetites and addictions and move into a greater service, which is service to self in the truest sense, fulfilling one's true divine and immanent blueprint in this world of tears and of the trial of separation. We can still step into a divine immanent template. Look at people and watch their faces as they grow older, and see how the demon or the ghoul can kind of take over our lives, and it gets written into us if we're not very careful. There are other people who manage to get through 70, 80, 90 years of life, and they still carry the beneficence of the angelic, that you can still see it shining through them. So again, it's all a choice, but the battleground is here. It's not out there. It was always here. And I would just say that learning the art and the craft of feeling really good about being in your own skin is the key piece.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, that was beautiful. I like to understand it as like the twin union merging back with source consciousness. And I think that every energetic operator, practitioner, or, people who work collectively, they reach a certain point within their ascension awakening process where you understand that it's not anymore about you, it's about the mission. You merge back with your twin within source consciousness, and your heart chakra opens up to a certain degree and percentage that now you operate from the space of unconditional love, and you really are operating for the mission. Like, it's not about the individual, it's not about you, it's not about yourself, it's not about your shadows, it's not about, anything. And you base your life decisions and you take your aligned action in the direction of, okay, how can I be of best service to the collective within my action in my everyday? And you kind of like are divinely guided, by that feeling, by that emotion, by that, inner work. And the nice thing that I've noticed with this regard as well is kind of like understanding that you also always protected, because when you are operating within that way, and I'm sure you've seen it more than me because you've been around for longer than me, but when you are operating in those spaces, you are really, really divinely protected. Doesn't matter kind of like what direction you go down. Do you want to add a little bit to that?
Yeah, of course. And it's very timely, a little discussion point, because I've just on this Congress of Kings meeting that I just came off, one of the points that was raised by one of the delegates was, if the New Earth X, which is at the exchange, newearthx.com is the website, and people should go to it. And do yourself a favor, get the Ghost Wallet, everyone, so that you can conduct your own business. And using our New Earth X Visa card, you can tap and pay, and all the monies go back into your own wallet. So every time you're doing your own business, you can be empowering your own treasury, and that's autonomous banking. So we've actually flipped the script through banking. We issue Visa cards and MasterCards, but every time you're paying for something, it comes back to you. I was having this conversation with the one of the delegates in this Congress meeting, and they were saying, well, this new zero-point banking system and financial system that you guys have perfected now with the New Earth X, and you're bringing redemption to entire kingdoms of millions of people who can now get on board with the New Earth kind of financial services and empower themselves, build up their own commonwealth and their own treasuries. Now every time they're paying for something, they're making micro dividends back to themselves rather than paying the banksters in Switzerland the fees, because it's all about the bank fees. So we've flipped that script, and it's amazing, but it is causing some people to be afraid because we're moving so against the grain of the status quo. And the question was, do we have to, how afraid should we be of them out there coming after us if we adopt the system? And so I got into the conversation in the Congress with the Kings about fearlessness and the importance of approaching life always from the vantage point of fearlessness. The minute we believe that we are the victim of something, we put ourselves into subjugation. We put ourselves into the thrall of that perceived bogeyman. We grant permissions to it. And so it becomes the thing that can harm us. And it creates, in a sense, the chink in the armor is where we fail to understand that we are Alpha Omega, the true majesty, that we are the immanent divine flame in temporality on the earth plane, and that we carry the full armor of God in that sense. It's the knowing is the being, and the being is the knowing. And when we get the knowing and the being aligned fully, we are so powerful, so immanent. I know that it's taken me a long time in life to get to the point where my will is being done. My dreams become manifest very quickly. And mine are very big dreams. They're kind of very planetary dreams to change the entire apparatus of, the matrix, into move beyond time and money and fear into a new quanta, which invites the emergence of the kingdom of heaven on earth as it is in heaven, not looking for rescue missions from the Pleiades or Alpha Centauri, much as I love the Alpha Centaurian and Pleiadian emissary and all that technology represents. This is my world. I am an Adamite. I'm a full-blooded earthling, and our primary function is to anchor the heavenly planes, in that sense, the celestine planes, into temporality, in order to transmute, alchemize time into infinitude, into immortality, into immanence. So, yeah, probably gone off track there, but just speaking of the importance of timelessness and fearlessness is the source code of our full awakening and transcendence.
Yeah, and like on a more like, one-to-one level, it's kind of like nothing can really harm you unless you allow it, sort of thing.
Correct.
If you are in alignment with yourself, and okay, like, I'm stronger than whatever else there is out there, like, something to attack you, there needs to be alignment within vibrational frequency. So there needs to be something that you are, yeah, as you said, like fear, shame, guilt, resentment. If you have an attachment to these emotions and you haven't done the shadow work and you haven't looked within yourself, then you're making yourself more vulnerable. But if you know, as you said, that you're an infinite being of light, nothing can harm you, nothing can touch you, then that's the reality that you're going to create with yourself, and for yourself moving forward. And exactly as you said, this is kind of like, even for me, like, even if I do work a lot with celestial beings, my mission is to actually ground what's up there in here. They're like, you're here in the now, you're in here, like, you need to really, really embody that. And this is why, for me, when I work with a lot of my clients, I work a lot on the physical, the grounded, the body, the exercise, the being inside the body, because it's all nice and pretty when we up there and, astral projecting and having visions, but how are you bringing it here? How are you anchoring, in the 3D, in the now, so that you can start operating from this fifth dimensional density space, but still be present, within the 3D where we are now. And I think this is kind of like, from different perspectives, what all of us are doing, that are doing this kind of work and are in this line of work at this moment in time.
Indeed, and always in always. Look, it comes down to your capacity, one's capacity to enact right action and stand in pure truth. That's all it is. That's the living technology of the Christic and Sophic flame. That is the living technology of ascension, of biological ascension, of complete morphogenetic activation of the entire planetary sphere. Is coming down, is cascading down simply to the degree to which each individual, as part of the collective, is able to move back or fold back into pure truth and right action in the living moment. That's it. It is not complicated. You don't need a goddamn PhD. You don't need to study Kabbalah and understand all the dogma and all the doctrines and all the scriptures. You just need to be in that state of grace and serendipity as a child of God. Right action, pure truth, meaning to say absence of judgment, to be able to withdraw judgment and condemnation every time you open your mouth. What is it you're saying? What is the tone that's coming out? What are you condemning or castigating or bitching about every time you open your mouth? That you need to police. And if we simply police that, I mean, I know that, reading the threads on YouTube or on Instagram or on Facebook is a very, very good telltale and I love trolling my trolls, incidentally. I can't resist it. I do it as my nighttime kind of meditation. Before I go to sleep, occasionally I'll just go on and think, let me just bait a few of the trolls and beat them up. And I can't resist doing it. Because at the end of the day, anyone who expresses themselves in judgment or condemnation of anything or anyone is speaking themselves into being. That's all. So every time somebody insults me or tries to question my veracity or my integrity, I know that I'm dealing with a slightly unevolved soul in Facebook who themselves are unresolved within their own shadow and need to project. So I will be triggering, my flame of pure truth is triggering their incapacity to activate their flame of pure truth. Therefore, rather than condemn themselves for being a liar or being somebody who's not in alignment with themselves, they will castigate and project and blame and judge the person in front of them, whoever that is. And if it happens to be a YouTube video of Sacha Stone, they'll just project onto that. And their venal, toxic little opinion will be enshrined on the thread on Instagram. So it always comes down to that. Anyone who ever chooses to judge or condemn or even express their stupid, turgid, ignorant opinion, and let's be blunt, most people just have pedestrian, mundane, suburban opinions. That's all you are, an opinion. Shh. Say nothing. Enter into grace. Be grateful for Althea. Be grateful for Sacha. Be grateful for Teal Swan. Be grateful for whoever else out there you're seeing, learning from, listening to. Have a fixed position on what you're hearing, but don't activate your own expression in judgment or condemnation, or you've just moved into wrong action. That creates a cascade effect that will come back and bite you in the ass. It'll also prevent you from being a voice that means anything in this world. So if people learn the craft of holding their counsel, sitting on their hands, biting their tongue, and just being in a state of grace, and in that sense, gratitude, even for the devil. So the devil always serves God's design. And if something pisses you off in life, an event, a circumstance, a relationship, whatever, you should always be grateful at the fact that that particular moment, that vector, that little shitty little thing that happened when you were in town, and somebody cut you up in the traffic and then got out and tried to punch the glass in, or whatever. These are all beautiful cameos for us to reckon with the fact that we still have not fully addressed shadow in our own soul. And if we start to see every event in life and circumstance that is simply telling us, it's simply offering us a reflection to refine that inner lens, life becomes a very, very beautiful journey very quickly.
Yeah, definitely. It's those triggers that are our biggest lessons. And it's the same for me. Like I get the trolls and it's just like holding up a mirror because you know that it's actually more about them, than about you. And when you've been in this line of work for long enough and you are speaking publicly, it's impossible for everyone to agree and like you. And there will be people that will come with their, uneducated opinions and, judgment and all of that. And I think, it's not for everyone. Like, I can understand how some people can, kind of take it personally. But I think if you are solid and grounded within yourself, you know who you are, nothing can really shake you. Like, it's not really going to touch you. You know what I mean? And again, it's showing more about them than about you. And I think, we human, everyone gets triggered here and then. Like, I don't think anyone who's living here at this moment in time has fully mastered the compassionate non-attachment and non-triggering. Maybe some of the monks, and we consistently are working. And the beautiful thing about the spiritual journey is that it's not really about learning, it's about unlearning, and unlearning all the conditioning until you are your true version of self. And then from that, kind of like relearning what is your truth, what is your version of being this highest version of yourself. And I think our biggest teachers within the triggers can be your partners, family members, and just experiences. And sometimes, as you said, it's as simple as someone cutting you off in traffic. Okay, why is it triggering you? Was it because your mother didn't listen to you when you were growing up? Whatever it is, so this is the work. And if you're able to do this within yourself and you stand in your authentic truth, then yeah, you're right, you don't need any kind of like teachers or courses or anything like that. Just be like an authentic, kind human, and you will be on the perfect path to ascension.
But the baseline here and the cornerstone of this is that there is no them and us. So I think when the real wisdom flame activates, when we recognize the foundational fact that there is no victim ever, there cannot be a victim ever, and that even for you to think in terms of victim and victimization and victimhood is for you to be very, very unresolved still in your sovereign jurisdiction. Once you reclaim your sovereign autonomous jurisdiction as a child of God and stand naked underneath the central sun, casting no shadow, meaning to say not judging others and not condemning the world, not blaming the world, you see that you were never a victim of anything ever, that the devil always serves God's design in your life, and every shitty thing that happened to you was a benediction and a blessing. So once you alchemize all of that into the here and now, it is a beautiful, beautiful thing. And the them disappears from the them and us. And the bogeyman disappears. And Satan himself and Beelzebub and Moloch with his little clickety-clackety hooves, all of that disappears. Because it was never really written into God's design, God's template. And that's a very, very beautiful and powerful space to be. I know that as a youngster, I was utterly traumatized by psychic attacks and by seeing bogeymen and witnessing horrible poltergeist activities, and that went on well into my early 20s, and not fun stuff at all, like real savage, diabolical, demonic intervention and assault happening. And then there was one fine day where I decided enough. I just cannot be terrorized anymore by extraneous forces, lower elemental forces, demonic powers, and so on. And I galvanized myself. I was in Munich in Germany at the time, and I'll never forget it. And I felt this wave coming in, which was going to be a demonic attack, and I knew that I would go through paroxysms and I'd end up foaming at the mouth and, on the floor, which happened because I used to go into kind of fits trying to defend myself from these attacks, but I could see them coming in. And this one day I was so pissed off. It was Christmas Eve, and I was having dinner with my girlfriend and her mother at their apartment in Munich, in Germany. And it was just like 15 minutes before the dinner, 20 minutes before the dinner, and we were getting ready to go and sit down and have dinner. And I felt this thing coming in, and I knew, because I've been through it for many, many years, since I was about 7 or 8, I knew that it was going to take another 3 minutes, then it would land, and it would begin to torment me, and I'd go into a paroxysm. And I thought, fuck you, this is the wrong time to be assaulting me. I'm here to make a good impression on my girlfriend's mother, at Christmas dinner. And I excused myself in the kitchen, went and sat in a dark bedroom, battened down the hatches, and I went into a zone. And I conjured the sword of St. Michael within myself. And I remember for the first time saying, and I took all my clothes off, I stood naked in the dark, and I said, come at me, I'm ready. But bring all the force of hell into, bring every force you can bring. And I challenged the counterpoint energy with this sword of St. Michael, this vulnerable, naked young man who was just prepared as the Adamite to take on the forces, the legions of hell. And I was going to take on the demons, but this time I was going to front them, looking fire in the eyes and not hiding and going into a paroxysm or a fit. And what happened? It came. I saw this diabolical legion coming through the ethers. Psychically, I could see it. Came blitzkrieging down toward me, and boom, moved straight through me. So I felt the impact, and I felt it move through me because I'd activated that armor of God. It could not gain traction anywhere in me. And Althea, all I can say is since that day, that sacred moment in time, I have never been besieged by any form of demonism or demonic attack or psychic attack. I have no problems ever at that level. My problems are very temporal, physical, dealing with stresses and strains, but never at that level has my mental or spiritual equilibrium been dented, even in the slightest.
Amazing. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. I'm sure a lot of people can, find wisdom in those words. And yeah, and I found in my own experience as well that it's almost like once you give knowledge to it, like you acknowledge it and you say, actually, this is enough, that's when the sovereignty comes back. And I think a lot of people live in fear and they're almost scared to acknowledge. And that's where these things kind of like can have more power over. Because like you, like even me growing up, like I had to navigate a lot of this stuff, like in my astral realm, within the 3D, I was one of those kids that couldn't sleep and was seeing ghosts and things and entities and exorcisms within my astrals and demonic beings. And I think all of us who are operating at a certain level have had to go through some kind of reclaiming of the sovereignty. So for me, I don't have one specific example that I can say, oh, it was this one time that it happened. I think mine was more kind of like a slow build, but yeah, now nothing can like attack me or touch me anymore. Like they can't even come near me, sort of thing. And it's so funny because I walked into a place like a few months ago, and this woman just comes up to me. I'd never seen her before, and she comes up to me, and it was like a restaurant, but there was an outside courtyard, and I walked out in the courtyard. She comes up to me and she says, like, what do you do? Because you just walked in here with like the 4 archangelics, a whole like building of like white light and geometry and grids around you, etc. Yeah, like I've got a big team when I walk around. So I thought that was quite sweet. But I think, yeah, once you are within your sovereignty, you really can't get touched. Yeah.
Quite so, quite so. It occurred to me in late 90s, I did see a full Draco kind of imperial lizard, reptilian, whatever you want to call it. And that's an event I've spoken to my own audience on multiple occasions. That was a very defining moment also in my life. So that happened, a good decade after I had had that moment with the sword of St. Michael, challenging the demonic. So it's not as though bad things never continued to manifest in my world. It's just that I was tooled up in order to be able to deal with them. And I had an innate and an intrinsic, innate understanding of the geometry and of the language of how to deal with facing off a draconian lizard, for instance, in real time, with other witnesses there. You know, and then having also on other occasions in interfaces with so-called UFOs, and always with many witnesses around. But I've had so many engagements there as well with these kind of phenomenological things, some of which have been very, very high frequency, and others have been quite low frequency and threatening. You know, and you know that you're dealing with certain forces and elemental forces that are not necessarily friendly to humanity. And nonetheless, just the fact that one has activated the armor of God does not preclude or prevent the devil from stumbling into your garden from time to time. It just means that you know exactly how to face it off and how to deal with it in a grace, again, in grace, without falling victim to fear, essentially, you know.
Yeah, it's like you have that knowing. Yeah, that's a very good way to put it. It's like you have that knowing within you, like you're fearless because you know you can't be harmed. Because time and time again, the universe has proved to you that it's got your back. Like you know you're supported. You know, it's kind of like an innate knowing that you have, basically. Amazing. So yeah, guys, like just to kind of like close it off here a little bit, Sacha will be speaking at the Galactic Conference the 5th of May. So this is next Tuesday. Is there anything you want to share, Sacha? Anything you want to add? Any final words? Do you want to maybe tell people where they can find you?
No, I'm not on the hustle anymore in life, so I'm really good. Just happy to drop in and have conversations. And yeah, I'm looking forward to your gig next week.
Amazing. So I look forward to seeing you all, you guys there. Thank you so much for joining us, Sacha. And yeah, I'll see you next Tuesday.
Thanks, Althea.
Bye.